Maxx Crosby is likely done in LV per Jay Glazer over at the NFL Super Bowl festivities. Breaking this news, or is he creating a firestorm of smoke? Because we're in smoke season. We hear this every year, especially Super Bowl week, Radio Row, all kinds of rumors. People are trying to get clicks. Now, Jay Glazer isn't necessarily known for being wrong all the time or anything.
Motion detected at the front door.
We're talking about a situation that seriously has already been worn out. The constant, I'm staying. What more do you want from me? I want to be a Raider, coming from Maxx Crosby, season in, season out. There's always rumors like this. The thing that makes this maybe different, maybe not, is how reactionary he was at the end of the season when the team wanted him to go on IR and he still wanted to play. The Raiders wanted to dive to get that number 1 pick, and Mendoza they're going to get. And you got to wonder if there's, smoke here. Is there fire? Is there not? It's smoke season. We're breaking it all down and more. Is Maxx Crosby headed elsewhere? And Diana Rossini throwing more fuel on the fire, speaking about New England, which was an old report where Max was talking about, yeah, it'd be great to play for Vrabel. That isn't new. That's Diana Rossini trying to piggyback off of the Jay Glazer report, just so you guys know. We'll break it all down and more. The Fantasy Football Show Breaking News Edition. Maxx Crosby, maybe done in LV edition, begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
So there's a lot of smoke during smoke season, even more so sometimes in Super Bowl week when you have Radio Row and all these people that are not qualified to be reporters or qualified journalists whatsoever that have access to this Radio Row now. It's a circus down there. It's like Mickey Mouseville. There's just nonstop people with media badges. They'll give them out to anybody. And people are just trying to make waves a lot of the time. Now, this comes from Jay Glazer, not some Mickey Mouse report. And Glazer has been known to be associated with certain players, one being Maxx Crosby. There are some ties there. And there's some reason to believe that there could be some sort of reality to this situation. That said, Max has been constantly hit with these kinds of accusations and clarifications being, pried from him year in and year out. Do you want to be gone? And he's like, I want to be a Raider. What more do you want from me? And there's actually a lot of people out there saying Max needs to clarify. Max doesn't need to clarify anything. Just because people are making up stuff, maybe not, doesn't mean he has to clarify anything. Now, I'll say this. I believe Max was at a point where he probably would have told you if you were in let's say a little pub and he was sipping back on grandpa's old cough medicine and you leaned over and you said, Max, are you upset right now? And this team made him go on IR, which needed surgery, by the way. Go on IR, take care of business, heal up. Let's get this number 1 overall pick, Max. You're worried about winning. Let's get the 1 pick. Let's get Mendoza. Why don't we go get Mendoza? Let's get Mendoza on the squad. Which is what they're doing. They're getting Mendoza, which is a fantastic situation. We're on panic level 9 over here with the Giants. Another whole nother story. But Maxx Crosby probably was at his wit's end, at one moment in time. No doubt about it, right after that situation unfolded. But he's looking at it from a new lens right now. Maybe he's still a little mad. Maybe he wants out. We don't really know. The truth is, I don't know. You don't know. No one knows. Jay probably doesn't even know, but Glazer's opening his mouth. And if he was really that close to the situation, he'd be betraying confidences or putting Max in a very vulnerable spot unless Max fed him this and said, go float it out there. Let's see what we can brew up. That's the only explanation. Otherwise, Jay is talking out of turn or out of pocket, or he's, backstabbing Max, or they planned it together and whatever. Like, there's not a lot of ways you could look at this. This is smoke season. And then Diana Rossini coming out saying the Patriots, he's always wanted to play for Vrabel. That is not a new piece of information to throw on top of this. This is an additional Diana Rossini digging into her bag of tricks and placing it on top of this already, you could say, fermenting piece of news and story that Jay created. So Diana Rossini just along for the ride, riding Jay's coattails on this report. The Patriots are certainly one of the players you would imagine that would have a hand in this race if he was available. But here's where you have to really look. If we were to dive into this situation and topic and try and find out where the most likely place would be that Maxx would land, you probably have to look at the teams with first-round picks, multiple first-round picks. The Dallas Cowboys make a lot of sense because the Dallas Cowboys have 2 first-round picks. They have the 12th pick, which is high enough to get Maxx Crosby in the conversation. You're not getting New England's 31 overall doesn't move needles that much. You could say, well, what if we give you this player as well, this 31 overall and a future first rounder? But the teams that are going to speak to the Raiders are going to be the ones with 2 first-round picks. Dallas has the 12. Dallas also has Green Bay's 20. These are enough with maybe another player to get it done. Dallas would be also trying to save the situation that unfolded with Parsons and remedy that. Would be this would definitely be one of those things that would help the fan base forgive and forget. 12 and 20 seem like, and a player would seem like a lot of good ammunition. Another team that has 2 first rounders would be the Rams. The Rams have the 13. The Rams also have the 30. These 2 teams are probably the most likely teams to be in the conversation and in the mix of a Maxx Crosby trade, if you ask me. The Raiders, whether you want to believe this or not, the Raiders are trying to win as fast as possible. I know some people are going to say they're so far away, their offensive line, they can't do this, they can't do that. The Raiders also have the ability to go get, if they want, a Mike Evans. They could go get a Wan'Dale Robinson, a Romeo Doubs. They could make a trade. They could get big flex, try and go land, a Dunze or BT. But this is a team that they do want to win now. They're not trying to say, oh, yeah, we have a loser mentality. We're going to win 3 years from now. Maybe it takes 1 calendar year. It is a tough division to win in. The Raiders are not necessarily making the playoffs this year, although they will try. And so they're not at all interested in getting rid of Maxx and just looking 2 and 3 years down the road. So I do believe that if they were to get involved, it would be Rams, Cowboys would be, and everybody wants them. There's no way the Rams don't want Maxx Crosby and don't entertain this. There's no way that the Dallas Cowboys don't entertain this. So those are the 2 teams I would gravitate toward initially because they both have a high enough pick. We're talking about 12 and 13. Both of these picks are high enough to entertain okay, we're the Raiders. Let's hear them out. Not to mention, this could land you a wide receiver. If you're the Raiders, you could potentially get one of Mekhi Lemon, Jordan Tyson, or Carnell Tate. One of those 3 receivers might fall to 12 or fall to 13. So those are good selections for the Raiders to go after that wide receiver. Not saying they take a wide receiver there. I'm just saying it makes a lot of sense because that is going to be one of the objectives. So we'll have to see. Also keep in mind the cap goes up, right around 18-20% every 2 years. The cap's going to go up again this offseason, so there's lots of room. This is going to be an entertaining smoke-filled season, off-season, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Pickens is going to be next. A.J. Brown trade will be next. J.J. and Burrow rumors, even though those will get shot down, there's no way J.J.'s getting traded this offseason. There's no way Burrow's getting traded this offseason. What happens to the quarterback position in Minnesota? We're just scratching the surface of all of this stuff. Maxx Crosby and DJ Moore. DJ Moore ain't pulling. First rounders. What first rounders do you have? What can Chicago offer? Make an offer and I'll shoot it down. Aldi, make an offer. This will be interesting. Here's where I land right now. I feel like that he's more likely not to get traded than to get traded. I feel like there's a chance more so than previous years that Maxx will confirm he's not happy. But I still think that there's more than a 50% chance that Maxx will come out and shoot these rumors down. Just because we've seen it before. But I wouldn't say it's as big of a margin as last time. Like last year, it's like, I don't think Maxx wants to go. Maxx didn't want to go. We hear it every offseason. But I think we are looking at probably a 60% chance he wants to stay in LV. He maybe was upset at one point. Maxx doesn't necessarily want to jump from team to team. I don't think that's his style, although is he at his end point, breaking point? Maybe. But Maxx Crosby is more of the kind of guy that just wants to stay put. He's done a lot to his house. Not that he has to necessarily, live where he's playing, but there's a whole bunch of other reasons that, to me, I feel like it may be closer to 50-50 than it's ever been, but I still think we're probably gonna know this. You're late, Smitty. I'm not late to anything. Rare, I'm here breaking news when news happens. I don't know where you've been. You're the one that's late. You're late to the party, not me. Where have you been?
Take a big lap. We don't need your hating ass coming back now. Take a
All right, phone lines are open. Dial.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
It's going to get interesting, I'll tell you that. It's going to get interesting. And everybody is going to want Maxx Crosby. Everyone. Hosseini, you're live, young man. What can I do for you? Hello? Oh, damn phone line. Hold on, Hosseini. Let me see if I have Travis on the line here. Travis, can you hear me? All right, let me see if I can fix this real quickly. Hang tight, gentlemen. Try now. Travis, can you hear me? No. How about now? There we go. I got you. Travis, you're live.
Yeah.
Then over to Hosseini.
Yeah, I mean, I think 50-50 is reasonable right now because we don't know exactly what Crosby's thinking. I tend to think Crosby might be a lot more likely to stay now that Brady is a little bit more, has more power, and Kubiak's there, and they have a clear direction towards winning now, as opposed to what they were looking at, year. And I also think, after the fact where he actually had a surgery to have things cleaned up, to look back on it as they were actually doing the right thing by protecting him. There's no sense.
Yeah.
He was playing those last games,
Yeah.
So, with all that said, maybe he sees it as, okay, things are a lot more stable here, because there's always voice to be before.
Not to mention, not to mention that, he's upset. He wants to play, doesn't want to be forced to IR, doesn't like the idea of losing games on purpose. But, part of what he's been struggling with is winning. And I think that, you sit him down and you're like, bro, we're getting Mendoza now. We weren't locked to get Mendoza if we won games. However he wrestled with that, I'm sure he's going to let it go and say, we're closer to winning now. This is great news that I'm closer. Let me merge these two calls. Great news that we're going to be on a better fast track to win. Having no quarterback made it a near impossible situation. The two callers, Hosseini and the other caller, just mute yourself real quick, callers. I just added to the line, but just mute yourself. I'll call you in a second. I think that whatever Jay is talking about, again, when you really break it down, how either Jay is ratting out his confidence in Jay. Guys, mute yourself. Whoever's talking in the background, I don't think you're muted. Who's talking? If it's Hosseini, I forgive you, but who the hell is talking in the background? All right. As I was saying, I don't think either Jay's ratting out the confidence that Maxx Crosby has in him, or Maxx is leaking him the information. or Jay's totally reaching on this. There's one of the three options going on. And I'll tell you this, I don't think it's Max's style to dance around anything. This guy's as straight a shooter as you're going to find. You think he cares about, hey, why don't you whisper this out there and see what happens? Max would just go straight to his podcast and drop it there. There's no benefit to having Jay drop it. Max could get it out there quicker than Jay. If Max on his podcast said, I don't want to play for the Raiders this year, that would spread so fast, quicker than Jay Glazer dropping it and everybody having to relay it. It would come straight from the source on his own podcast. So I don't think for a second that Max is leaking this strategically through Jay. So Jay's either ratting him out or he's reaching. And those are the only two other options that they're on the table. So
the only other option I could think of is if this is coming from, like, if the Raiders are looking at it and saying, okay, he's 29 years old, he's a ton of money.
Yeah. And
we're looking at, 2 years from now, 3 years from now as being like true Super Bowl contenders. So, right, that's what we want to do. Max isn't going to be at his peak anymore. He's going to be 30, 31. Yeah. So maybe we move him for the best package now.
Well, here's the thing is he has to want to be traded. The Raiders don't want to trade him. And the Raiders will not trade him unless he wants to be traded. I'll tell you guys that right now. Like, they have enough respect for him. He is a good enough talent. He's the anchor of this defense. Like, there's no reason to get rid of him. If he does want to leave, they will probably say, let's take a look at what we can get. And the teams, like I said, that come to mind, I'm not saying, like, this live stream is not to say that he's not getting traded. I made that abundantly clear at the beginning. I feel like it's probably 60-40 that Max does probably want to stay, but that's a big percentage. 40% is pretty big. I've never been that big on it. So that's a huge percentage. But what I think is going to happen is if he does want to leave, the whole league is going to want him. And then it comes down to, do the Raiders get enough value from teams like the Patriots that are going to give them almost a second round pick in that 31, or Seattle, 32nd round pick, like 32nd overall pick? I don't think that those are going to be good enough draft selections to, I think, garner this trade, unless they're giving up 3 and they figure out a way to spice it up more. But the teams that make a lot of sense are the ones that have an early pick, especially 2 first-round picks in this draft. And the ones that you can see in front of you are the Dallas Cowboys and also the LA Rams. And both those teams would be very much in the running and needing his services positionally. It all makes sense. And this is a big talent to bring in. I do agree with you, Travis, that even if he wanted out, it wouldn't be necessarily a mistake by the Raiders, because they're going to get a king's ransom for him. And if you're able to grab, even if you're just replacing him with this 12 or 13 pick, and you believe you're getting that next, that next potential Crosby, or you're grabbing that player in the 20s and you're getting yourself a Carnell Tate or a Jordan Tyson or a Mekhi Lemon, you're getting that receiver that you need very badly. This is a win-win for the Raiders to keep him or to trade him if they're making the right trade. And I think that they will. There's a different vibe in LV right now. It is definitely, they're attacking things a lot different than they used to. And I feel that there's a scraping of the foundation in LV. They're building on solid foundation. This is not the Raiders. I'm telling you, they're going to turn things around. Let me go to Travis real quick and then over. We had one caller drop off. Then I'll go over to Husseini. Caller, if you want to call back, I'll go right to you after Husseini. But Travis, real quick, and then over to Husseini.
Now, last thing I'll say is, and I know we'll probably disagree on this, I don't think there's any way with his age and contract they get 2 top 20 picks for him. I think they're looking at a first rounder this year, wherever that team may fall, and then maybe a first rounder next year and picks or something.
Maybe so.
I think with his age and his contract, that might be a stretch for them, but we'll see how desperate teams get.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Jerry.
There will be a lot of teams competing.
You're talking about competitive market will drive prices up. But like you're talking about Jerry can do anything. Jerry Jones can do anything. His mind, he sets his mind to not doing or to doing. Husseini, you're live, and then I don't. Olsen, you can call back, bro. Go ahead, Husseini. You're live.
Okay. Yeah, the way I look at this is, in a fantasy perspective, is like, I think it would be awesome to see Pickens to the Raiders and Crosby to the Dallas Cowboys. I think that helps both teams. And also for fantasy, that helps Lamb finally get his own team back.
Yeah.
Then we can actually use Lamb, actually the way we want to. And Pickens has his own team now. Of course, Bauer is a jitty, but that's just pieces. And so that helps the offense. And I think that actually would help Pickens. He would be wide receiver 1, technically. So I just think with Mendoza there, you get him. And then if they make this trade with, like you said, Jerry Jones can make it happen. If you wanted Pickens to Dallas, to LV, Crosby, I'm sure they can add some picks or do whatever, all that stuff. But I think that would be awesome to see for Pickens, for Lamb, and Crosby get a new situation and a new environment.
It would be it would be interesting. Pickens is definitely a consideration, although he would be franchise tagged and then signed to the new deal in conjunction with the trade. And that would be a big contract. So it's tough to say. Those wide receiver deals are massive. We're talking about $100 million plus guaranteed. Hard to say. I mean, personally, I would be okay with a future first or even the 20 pick. And I don't know if that's capable of enough. If that's too much, too little. It's hard to really value Max. Like Travis said, he's older, but I don't know. I think teams are going to overspend for him. But if, let's say, Dallas sent the 20 pick and Pickens, and they did a franchise tag and sign and trade, it definitely would be a very interesting move. Getting that 12 pick and 20 to go get the Jordan Tyson or the Carnell Tate would be a more attractive move because you're getting that young receiver on that long-term deal. But anything can happen, man. I mean, especially when you have a Pickens or an asset like that you can get involved. Hard to say.
Yeah, that's true. I just know that, just thinking in my mind, for fantasy, that would be pretty cool. Given Lamb as well, because Pickens and Lamb both in the same team, it's good.
I don't know what you mean by that though. I think you're thinking with your fantasy hat because Pickens has been great for Dallas though. What do you mean?
No, I meant like with Lamb, it kind of hinders Lamb a little bit. I feel like Pickens being there, and so I feel like Lamb having his own team, and then Pickens having his own team now.
I don't think they're thinking like that. I don't think they're thinking like that though. They got a massive production out of their wide receiver room and their offense, and Dak was phenomenal. I don't think they're looking at oh, but poor Lamb. Pickens was a top 5 wide receiver and Lamb was hurt. So I don't think I just don't think they're looking at it from that angle at all. We need to get Lamb his own team. This arsenal is awesome. I don't like it. I'm with you. I'm with you that I want Lamb to be solo because it does present some problems that Pickens is so good. But from a football perspective, they have no desire to split these two up.
Yeah, so I know. I meant in a fantasy way. I would like it in fantasy perspective to have Lamb by himself and Pickens by himself, just because more for hands to use. For sure.
But
that's the way I was looking at it. But
all right,
ideally for fantasy, I'd like that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But definitely interesting. Bunch of trade rumors are going to kick up into high gear. But I don't know. We might hear Maxx Crosby shoot this down real quickly. And he's the kind of guy that'll tell people right away. I don't think he dances around it necessarily. Someone's going to ask it on his pod, and he's going to say something. We should have something very, very, very soon on this in response. Now, again, I think it's 60-40. He's going to be no. I don't know where Jay's getting that. That kind of response, 60-40, that's going to happen. The 40%'s big though. That's like I said, a higher percentage chance I've ever thought of him leaving. But we hear this every offseason. Maxx wants to go. And Maxx is like, he's literally said it this way. How many times do I have to tell you I don't want to leave LV? This is my home. This is my team. And this is a guy that takes, I believe, pride in that kind of like, you stay where you're drafted. You win a championship with the team that drafted you. You don't go ring chase. I'm not saying he's not at his end and he's, his wit's end and he's completely upset at the situation. But, I do believe that we're looking at a guy that does look at things legacy like, I could see him very much being against trying to move around and jump around teams, but we'll see. I think that the Dallas Cowboys, the Rams, the Patriots will definitely be interested. I just don't know. I don't know if that's a team that I see him ultimately going to. It's hard to say. It's hard to picture Maxx in another uniform anyway, but I don't know where he'd end up. All I know is every team's going to want him, if he is on the market. But make no mistake about it. If he wants to go, the Raiders will entertain it. Because they can sell him at his peak. Like Travis said, he's getting up there in age. He's been injured. I don't think that scares them away from keeping him. I think he's still one of the best in the league. But he is at his peak of selling. Like, if he wants to go and doesn't want to be there, they don't want that to drag down the team. They don't want to have an off season like that. And so they'll entertain it, but they certainly aren't going to just like accept anything. They're going to get a deal that absolutely brings them the massive return that they're going to require. They're not selling them at a discount. They're not in a box having to move them. They're not scared about what if we don't move him, will he be upset? They'll entertain it for him. They'll tell him, we'll try, but they're not going to be like, choose your home. Tell us where you want to go. We'll send you. You want to go to New England? We'll make it happen. They're going to go out and get what they need to get. Spytech ain't messing around, bro. I think he's certainly going to be building what people will look back on in the same way they look back on the Lions or the Bengals, like in terms of that turnaround. I'm not saying the Bengals are this completely winning organization, but the fact that they turned themselves around, immediately went to a Super Bowl. The fact that even though the Detroit Lions have been a mess this year, they've turned around and they've become a very respectable offense that can gunsling with anybody, run against anybody. I think the Raiders in 1.5 to 2 years will flip the script on everything, and people will look at the Raiders as a whole different organization. All right, Travis, what else you got? And then I'll go back to Husseini, and I don't know if anybody else wants to call in. Here's the number real quick.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
The person that was here that hung up, go ahead and call back if you want. I don't know. I don't know if he was mouth breathing on the line and got mad at me because I yelled at him. But go ahead, Travis.
Are you coming back for 8 p.m. or are we?
Yeah. I'll probably end this here soon and come back at 8 p.m.
Okay. All right. I'll make my final thing and just jump off. Then.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab some food, but
New Age with the 50.
Raiders like. Go ahead.
Yeah, Travis, I'm sorry. New Age with the $50 hauler. New Age, you still there? New Age dropping a $50 wad over on Rumble. Guys, we're growing on Rumble like crazy. Make sure the link's in the description. Make sure you're subscribed to the Rumble channel because we're blowing up over there. Things are getting hot and bothered real quick over on the Rumble side. New Age, thank you for dropping the $20 hauler, and then I'll go over to Travis and let him give his final thought, and then I'll go over to Husseini. But $20 hauler.
Super chat alert.
Look at this guy. Thanks for going live on breaking news. Makes life easier at work. Keep up the great work. Thank you, New Age. And New Age, we're gonna have a lot of this, man. We're entering, draft season. We're entering. Free agency is going to be crazy. March, we're going to be live so much in March, just randomly. Thank you for the $50 hauler. Let me leave that up. All right, Travis, go ahead. My Rumblers.
Just like, with the Raiders, I think you can go either way. They can keep them, and that's great. That help with the rebuild that they're doing. Personally, if I could get any 2 first-round picks, whether it's one this year, one next year, or two this year, whatever, I'd be seriously thinking about moving him if I was the Raiders. Whoever would give me the best deal, because of that, I don't see him. I see him maybe having 2, maybe 3 more good years at the most, because I don't think he's going to be one of these guys that are, 35 years old still tearing the league up. But I think they can, it's almost a win-win for them, because they're going to get a haul if they trade him. Or at the worst, they have, a face of their defense to build around for that 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. It's funny because Joe the Realist says, lots of talk here in Philly. Let me read this. Hold on, Joe. Lots of talk here in the Philly area about Crosby wanting to go there. Crosby doesn't want to go anywhere, Joe. I don't know. These Mickey Mouse content creators, bro. I'm telling you, it's they're nonsense, man. You're probably listening to some Mickey Mouse Eagle podcast where they've got no experience whatsoever, created a platform, and they're just running their mouth on it, and everybody's eating it up. Yeah, Crosby's let it out there that he wants to go to Philly. He said he would love to play with this coach, because people ask him questions like, hey, would you ever like to play for Vrabel? I'd love to play for Vrabel. Now, that's on record, and Rossini referenced that old clip that he got asked that question. There's a lot of players that say that. LeBron said, a lot of people say, yeah, I'd love to play. And
I referenced it on Radio Row because the Patriots are in the Super Bowl. It's like, it's a topic of conversation because of that.
Yeah, and then people
way to get clicks and people talking about stuff. And
yeah, has there a clip somewhere where someone said, would you like to play with Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts is sitting right next to him or something? Yeah, I'd love to play with Jalen Hurts. Like he wants to go to Philly, Joe. We heard it in Philly. We heard it in Arizona that he wants to play for the Cardinals. Everybody's heard where he wants to play somewhere. Like, look, Max will let you know. He'll do his podcast. He'll let everybody know what's real, what's not soon enough, but he isn't picking his place yet and making it known out in the open. All right.
We'll call back at 8.
All right.
Thanks for
Yeah, Husseini, final thoughts.
Just one thing is, the other day when I was asking about JT Bowers on it's like draft one first round, the other one second round. It's a little bit of a reach, but honestly, more this Raider stuff is brewing up, and the more we kind of know that pretty much Clint's going to go there. I kind of like the idea of that, is drafting JT Bowers in that 1-2 turn and getting them both. I like that stack a lot.
Just do it sparingly. Don't do it in every league. And if things go awry, then you won't get screwed in multiple leagues. But yeah, I don't hate it. I think it definitely has its appeal. Bowers is going to be a beast if he's healthy. It doesn't matter what else is going on. I mean, Mendoza will find him just fine. And Genty, once the room is opened up, man, things are going to go crazy for Gent.
Yeah, I agree. I have hope for them, even though I'm a Chiefs fan, but I don't even care. I want that team to succeed because I love the players, and I want them to do good for fantasy. But yeah, I'm excited for that team.
All right, man. Appreciate.
Thanks, Smitty.
Yeah,
call later.
Call in at 8 p.m. later, bro. All right, guys. Thanks, Husseini. We're out of here. We'll be back. I just want to come and break this news and break it down, essentially. And that's that. Maxx Crosby. We'll talk more about it at 8 p.m., I'm sure. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about the Cardinals hiring. I got a whole new live stream on Hackett being the new OC in Arizona. Thank God he's not calling plays. Mike LaFleur is calling plays, but we don't even know what that means, really. So the Cardinals could be in a little bit of a downturn. I'm afraid that we don't get the exact production we got out of Brissett, McBride. McBride's going to be overweight, I think. People shouldn't be drafting him at 9 and 10 in every league, maybe one league. But Bowers at 18 overall versus McBride at 9 or 10 overall in a fantasy draft is far more, attractive. So, but we'll have more on this. Again, there's certainly a world where Crosby gets traded. You know, I don't think that was ever. There wasn't much of a likelihood of that happening last offseason when we thought that there was turmoil and then he shot it down. I think we're a little bit more likely of this not getting shot down this time, but I still believe we're more in line with this being a bunch of smoke where there's not fire than where there's smoke there's fire. So we'll have to play it as it goes. We go live when news breaks. That's the way the show is. We'll be back at 8 p.m. Eastern because that's our flagship show. So about an hour. See you all in about an hour here on this channel and on Rumble. Thank you, New Age, for the $50 hauler. Thank you all. Appreciate you. See you in about an hour on the YouTube channel. Links in the description of both on Rumble and the links in the description of YouTube if you want to get the link to Rumble. See you all in about an hour. Deuce.